And we're with Maria Aviña, counselor at Roseland Elementary School, and we are also with Michelle Leisen, the principal of Roseland Elementary School. And as I was saying a little earlier, having both of you here from the school just makes me panic, because I'm brought back to being 11 years old, sitting in front of the principal's office waiting to go in as the counselor walks me through what I'm going to say so I don't get kicked out. And I got kicked out, and now I'm here to ask you why. No. So, like, what is it like these days to be in the education business?
Oh, goodness. In the education business.
It is a business. It is a racket, is it not?
Yeah.
It's a calling. It's a mission.
It's a vocation, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Right.
And, you know, we lead with our hearts. We're both softies. Mm-hmm. So we feel like we are at Roseland for a reason, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't think of it as a business.
Well, I was being glib, but you did bring me to a notion that I hadn't first considered, is that Roseland is kind of a different school, isn't it? Right? Or is it? Well, you identified it as sort of a calling, it seemed like.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Why Roseland?
Why Roseland? Marie and I have similar but very different stories, but we both definitely knew we wanted to be in Roseland.
Right.
And it's our kids and our families.
It's a community. It's a family to us. And more than that, for me, it's going back home. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Roseland area, and so I.
But your story doesn't start in Roseland. You came here when you were 10.
I immigrated to the United States. When I was 10 years old. Didn't go to school at all in Mexico, so there was no formal education. And then I was here for about 2 years before I started education. So I started at the end of 5th grade.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for the first time ever.
That's a pretty amazing educational trajectory.
All those grades.
Right. That's one way of looking at it.
She is that amazing.
That's amazing. And so, having the support system back then, having these amazing teachers. I don't remember having a counselor. Mm-hmm. Not until high school. But for me, it was like a calling, of going back and giving back to those children and the same population, that I myself saw myself be part of. Mm-hmm. So that was always my dream, to go back and support and be there for another child just like me, coming into a completely different country.
Yeah, that's a wonderful full circle
So
situation.
It is a full circle. And that's why I'm there, because I feel that I can understand and I'm part of that community.
Yeah, and you just were at the principal's office like me all the time, and
sure.
Just like the desk.
That's what I want to do. I'm going to go back and lay down the law.
Right. I mean, but like most principals, as I understand, often go through an entire, career as an instructor first, and another.
Sure. I started out as a teacher at Roseland Elementary.
Oh, really?
I did my student teaching there to start. I remember being in the teaching credential program at USF, and my mom and I were talking. So it's my mom's fault, or I can credit her. We had just been hearing so many amazing things that our former superintendent, Gail Lawless, was doing in the Roseland School District, and I had to be part of it. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a teacher at Roseland.
Where are you from originally?
Santa Rosa.
Oh, right on.
Went to Santa Rosa High.
Oh, wow. Okay, you guys are both local.
Yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised.
And then, so what's the Roseland experience like? Like, it's day one, kindergarten. Mm-hmm. I'm 5 or 6. What's my day like?
So for some of our kids, it's their first experience with school at all.
Right.
So that can be a big deal. Sometimes it's their first experience in an English-only setting, which could also be a big deal. Or they've been at preschool, so it depends. Maybe they're already reading and writing in English. Yeah. But we have amazing teachers. They come in. We're really pride ourselves on just that heart and the family feel. Mm-hmm. So wraparound services, they get breakfast. They have teachers who love and care about them.
That's great.
They have a school counselor full-time, which is super unique. So if they are crying and running out of the classroom, Marie's there to save the day.
Well, what are some of the issues that this student population faces? And we're going, so we're 5 to 11, 12, 13?
Yeah, we're
TK,
grade? So transitional kinder, all the way up to 6th grade at our schools. And then we have our charter middle and high. So
right, which I learned about recently. It was also really fantastic.
Awesome.
So some of the issues, again, the assimilation, acculturation, change of culture, immigrating from a different country. So we do have a lot of immigrant children and families, and it's their first time, again, in an English setting, in a new country,
Right.
in a new system, right? Because the educational systems in other countries are very different than they are here in the United States.
Yeah, I think we take for granted sometimes that we're born into the system sometimes, so we don't understand that there's another modality, and it can be really intimidating. It's this whole different phenomena.
For the kids and for the families, the intimidation piece, so
Right.
we work really hard on making the families feel like we're open campus, come on in, you're part of this,
And
we're
they-
teammates.
And they're there. You walk into Roseland right now, you'll find parents everywhere.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
so they do definitely take part in their children's education. And again, it's like a home for them. It's a community for them.
See, when
On
you
the
say
weekends,
community, I used to, back in, when I was in school, community was just like a new buzzword they had learned and started using it. And
Okay.
parents were nowhere near school. In fact, that was like the one refuge we had, away from parents.
You knew they weren't going to show up.
Well, how did you engender that sense? You actually do have a real community there. How did you
We
make
do.
that happen?
A lot of it, our families are amazing, but we do have kind of that old school feel of we are smack dab in the middle of Roseland.
Right.
A lot of our families walk to school still, ride their bikes to school, really do live close. We're this funny little 1 mile square.
So really, it's sort of the centrality of the school
It
becomes the heart of the
is.
city.
So
for
there's
that part of the city.
pedestrians and they're mommies are walking their kids to school and they stay. They
That's
stay
pretty
on
great.
campus. So
they want to volunteer.
yeah.
Wow.
Help
They
us
do
with our
volunteer.
events or helping us, like I said, we have breakfast, so they're helping us serve breakfast in the mornings.
Do you think that leads to a certain school pride, the students really, because the middle school, as I understand, there's,
Oh, yeah.
in the high school too, Roseland Prep, down the road a bit.
Huge pride.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get students to feel that? Because I had no sense of pride in school. School was the place we went to, if not burned down, we're going to write all over it. And, how did you guys create that sense of community and pride in the school?
Again, I think it's being open and welcoming, and it's like, this is your home.
I was
So
just gonna
from
say,
day
it's
one, we're
our
like,
school.
this is your
Yeah.
home.
Right.
This is our home. We are a family. And we do have those conversations with the families
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I feel that, it is a community. And we also have different organizations from the community, the larger community, that come in and want to be part of that community. For example, yesterday we celebrated Cesar Chavez Day, and we had all the resident doctors from Sutter come in and do this amazing fair
It was
for our
wonderful.
students
Oh, wow.
on health and education and fun, and Cesar Chavez, and so that
It
for
was
me is a
great.
sense of community.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
pretty great. We'll be right back with Maria Aviña and Michelle Leisen after this. And we're back with Maria Aviña and Michelle Leisen, counselor and principal of Roseland Elementary, respectively. We, during the break, had a bit of a chat about the socioeconomic phenomena that happens at Roseland in some of the aspects that are worthy of mention, right? In terms of poverty and things.
Well,
like
and just
that.
the challenges that our students and families face. I think it's about 93% of our student population has been identified as their families being below or at poverty level. So that brings, a whole gauntlet of.
What is poverty level these days?
Oof, that's a tricky question. 20 something
20 grand or
ish.
less? Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
I think you're right. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah,
And,
which qualifies them for free reduced lunch, which is kind of our benchmark, how we know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really is a challenge.
It is. And
Healthcare and
Right,
access
and
to
access
resources
the re-
and
Right, and the services that, and like in anywhere else in the county, but also finding a home,
Oh, yeah.
so there's that situation with rent and so forth. So
yeah, the housing crisis
The
right now
housing
has really
crisis.
hit our families hard. So
Hey,
that's something that really
well-
we've felt kind of the ripple effects at our school.
Yeah, well, how does that manifest for the student? I mean,
I do see a lot of my students in the counseling office for that. Just,
Yeah.
it's difficult to go home and not have a home to go to.
They worry about adult things. They worry about
Really?
grown-up things, so they're the things that really we would consider a 9-year-old worry sometimes take us a back seat because some of our kids are worrying about rent.
And that kind of stress can be toxic, and as I understand, it actually affects children neurologically and how they're going to learn and all that. So to abate that is very important. How do you address that, though? You can't just give everyone a house. I mean, how do you address such a colossal issue?
But we can take some of the worries off. Like I talked a little bit about our universal breakfast program. Trying to meet all those basic needs is a big part of what we do. So everyone's getting food.
And also, if the students don't have anywhere to go to after school because parents are working, we have the Boys and Girls Club where they can get help with their homework if parents are working a lot and they're not able to come in and support their child with that. There's the counseling. We also have a homeless coordinator in our district. It's another counselor as well. And so we work with the homeless shelters in making sure that our families get a spot in the shelters as well.
That's great.
Lots of community partnerships.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of community partnerships, like the local businesses and all that, do you have relationships with them, and how do they contribute if they do?
Well, Maria mentioned the amazing Cesar Chavez Health Fair we had yesterday. So Sutter did an amazing job. We had 25, I think it was 30 doctors in residency on campus.
Which is amazing.
Amazing.
But Sutter is this colossal, corporation that,
Oh, our local businesses.
I'm saying like
Got
in the
it.
neighborhood, Do you have any kind of relationship like that with local businesses, or?
We have partnered in the past for fundraisers on our campus, spaghetti night, donations. For the fair yesterday, I'm trying to think of on the spot, Lola's donated the money for a bicycle yourself a smoothie to show the kids that, making healthy choices. Little things like that.
So the local stores and the local restaurants definitely are always open to donating or we're having like a parent meeting. We order food and we get like a really good deal to provide this for our families.
If you could make a laundry list of everything that you need, like you truly need, right? What do you need from the community? What would that be, so we can tell them right now?
I think mentorships have really proven to be extremely effective for kids, especially so that they can see themselves at college, right? So we're through college.
That is really interesting, right? Because I would have assumed money or something facile like that, but an actual adult engaged directly with the student. That's brilliant.
To continue to support them with their education, because we know that the key to success really a lot of the times is education and being able to keep them in school, and with education, people are able to see the world very differently and able to continue on. And then, we're talking about the poverty level, and that will change as well if they're able to continue on with education and get a different job, for example. Instead of working in the fields, they could go and work at a school as a teacher. So that would make a difference for their family as well as for them.
What's another thing that the community could actually give to you guys?
Besides their time.
Besides their time.
And love. Let me think. So I think I just keep going back to that person power I was thinking about yesterday. That mentorship is huge, but also...
Because it's really easy for somebody just to write a check and feel like they've done something.
Well, I'll take checks.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'll take checks.
You know what I mean?
School supplies and all those things, of course, are a huge...
But there's more intrinsic value, I think, ultimately, having a personal relationship with the community.
Well, I was going to say, we just really, our whole district, I think, does a really good job of focusing on the connection, increasing that connection, focusing on the relationships. Our teachers have beautiful relationships with their kids, but they have 30 of them. So anytime there's one more adult who the kid knows loves them, right? Like that's a big deal. That's a big deal in their lives. Like the Boys and Girls Club mentors are a huge part of it. Maria is a huge part of that. Time, and also, I'm a teacher, so I bring that. But if you have someone who comes in that's in media, or someone who comes in that's able to add, hey, I'm an engineer. This is what I do. It's cool. It's fun. I love it. I need to go to college to do this. All those multiple perspectives, and especially if our kids can see themselves in that person.
Right. Because many of them don't have that at home, If
Maybe
you
they're
ask them,
first generation.
They're first generation. The majority of them are first generation, and so they don't have a parent or an uncle or an aunt that it's a professional. So it always goes back to that, I think financially, the community could benefit from perhaps more support with food, books, and clothing, and
Well,
that
one thing
kind of
I know that we did recently, Evan Johnson, our lab director here at CMedia, who you know quite well, came and did a spring video camp.
That's a perfect example
of what we need, and it was
enriching
really well
activities.
received.
Yeah.
The students were just so engaged, and they were. I was just talking to Mrs. Leisen about that. How this morning they were just really even more engaged.
I'm glad. That's
a perfect example.
Yeah, and that's something obviously we're going to keep doing. I think that's a
Yeah.
permanent program now. It's wonderful.
That's great.
But having professionals come into the classroom like that, is that something we could do?
Or provide outside, I thank you for bringing that up, because those enrichment activities, sometimes our kids don't leave our little community, which is good and bad, it feels like them, but sometimes they haven't even been down like where we are right now, which is like so close, walking
Right.
distance, right?
Right.
So providing them with experiences outside of school is another thing that we definitely need. We had a gentleman who sent 200 of our kids up to the movies to go
Wow.
see a movie up at Airport Cinema, and that was wonderful.
That's pretty
so
cool.
we brought
What'd they see?
Pan.
Nice.
The Peter Pan movie,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was wonderful. Our kids all showed up. Maybe they'd never been there. They got to go to the movies. Some of them it was their first time going to the movies. We take our honor roll students ice skating. Some of them it's the first time they've been ice skating at Snoopy's Ice Arena.
Yeah.
So stuff like that makes a huge difference, and also makes them love school more.
Right.
So it's just this beautiful thing. Like I go to school, I learn, I
Awesome
love
things
it.
happen.
Awesome things happen. It's connected. Learning's cool and awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The neighborhood and the community, have you guys detected any sort of the whispers of gentrification or anything happening with the
With the
housing?
annexation.
Not with
or-
annexation, just like with
gentrification,
real
got
estate
it.
happening such that it's, people want to start buying up neighborhoods and making them hip. I've seen it in Petaluma, it's crazy. Is that something that's happening? in
Hip Roseland, hip downtown Roseland. Yeah, it is hip. It's happening. No, only the conversations have been really mainly around the annexation.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that in the next segment here. We're with Maria Aviña and Michelle Leisen, counselor and principal of Roseland Elementary. We'll be right back. And we're back with Maria Aviña and Michelle Leisen of Roseland Elementary, counselor and principal. We are just about to talk about annexation, but then we didn't. But now we are. Does it mean anything to you guys? Does it change anything? Roseland has such its own identity to be
Yes.
subsumed into Greater Santa Rosa. Is that going to change anything at all, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sonoma County is interesting. We have, I think, 40 school districts.
Really?
Really? Yeah, I think. Don't quote me.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. We have a lot of districts.
Yeah.
And Roseland's this little 1 mile square. It's not going to change from my perspective, our Roseland experience. And I know that they're trying to validate those concerns of keeping Roseland unique and interesting and fun, and itself having its own identity. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
And we've had one change, which is the library, and it's been
yeah.
amazing.
That's true.
It's amazing, I think,
Oh,
for our
it's
students. I mean,
amazing.
again, going back to the spring camp, video camp, the students were able to be at the library and have that experience. And in fact, a lot of the stuff they worked on in their project was talking about the library and how to access the resources there. So that was a positive change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is there a different side of the tracks or other side of the tracks kind of feeling about Roseland? It's a question John made me ask.
We are so in. I am blinded by love for Roseland, so I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. I don't ever feel that way. I love driving into our community. I love our families.
And going back to what Roseland really is, it's the heart of our community.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I am part of the community.
Yeah.
We both work there, and it's beyond work, really.
Right.
Yeah.
It's beyond that. So there's really no words to explain what it's like to be there and be part of,
I was thinking too, you mentioned just I think your personal experience of I'm going to draw on the school. I was just
Right.
feeling, our kids and our families really take pride in our school.
They do.
Really do. And it's beautiful and it feels safe, and they have pride in that. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely this beautiful, bright spot.
Yeah. What are kids supposed to learn in elementary school? I can't recall. My kids not
Reading,
learning
writing,
anything, so-
arithmetic.
That's what it is, right? Okay. But is it still California history at, in fourth
Yeah.
grade, U.S. history in fifth grade?
Uh-huh.
Sixth grade, I believe, was
Ancient civilizations.
awesome. What's third grade?
Your community, I think.
Awesome.
Local businesses.
It is.
Now, who sets this up? Who chooses that curriculum?
The California State Standards.
Yeah. And how do you feel about them?
Going for it. Well, we have our new Common Core State Standards. So
Right.
those are in math and language arts. And then we have the new on the spot, next generation science standards coming up.
Okay.
So we're working on adopting those.
Okay.
And then I'm assuming history is down the line somewhere. But those are set by the standards.
So when standards are set and you
Yes.
inherit the sort of mandate of things you have to teach your kids, yet you know your kids so well and you know what they need most, right? How do you make both those phenomena work, right? How do you take the mandate and match it with the actual needs
Sure.
of your population, and then integrate it so that it's, everyone's learning what they apparently need to?
We have really well-trained teachers that are there with this amazing training and also an amazing heart.
Yeah.
You know, and they're so flexible and so willing to give it all into their students in the classrooms. And I think that's major.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's huge.
What is STEM, by the way? I always hear about this.
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
You guys have to do that stuff?
We do.
Yeah.
We get to do that stuff.
What's a 5-year-old doing with engineering?
That's a good question. Building, planning, figuring out if I put this block here without a base, it's going to fall.
Right.
You know, kind of that long-term problem solving.
Building those-
That's engineering, yeah.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah. Now I know. I
There
wasn't
you
a
go.
STEM kid.
Yeah.
I'm way older
They call
than you
it
guys.
STEAM now. They add art in there. STEAM.
Well, okay, let me ask you about the arts. See, I think they're often misrepresented or underrepresented, rather, in academic settings, especially locally, apart from ArtQuest, of course, with whom we share real
Sure.
estate. But how do you keep arts alive? And are arts actually necessary? I think they are, but for all the wrong reasons. What do you guys think?
I think that's a big part of where our community comes in.
Okay.
So we recently partnered with the Sonoma County Museum. I don't know what it's called now because they now have the
You're
art
right.
piece.
Yeah, they changed it.
Museum of Sonoma County, maybe
Art museums, I don't know.
something like that. Anyway,
It's a branding crisis, regardless.
there
Yeah,
we go.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
because I can't say it.
Yeah.
But we recently partnered with them in a grant called Art for Kids, and we've had all of our 5th and 6th graders have art programs within our classrooms, and then a field trip with an art docent. They learned about a certain medium project. They went to the exhibit that coincided with that project, and then they made another art piece at the museum
Sort of reflective
with the
of it.
artist.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
So that's a perfect example of what community can do. You know, I'm not an artist.
And also with just within the counseling, I do introduce a lot of the art. You know, we
Yeah.
do a lot of art. We have an art therapy group, for example,
Oh, that's cool.
after school
Yeah.
that I'm running with another therapist. And also for like Multicultural Day and Diversity Day, I have a couple of artists that are coming and displaying their art, and they're Latino artists, Chicana artists that, again, the students will be able to identify with,
Right.
and we'll be able to do art activities with. And so
Well,
we
yeah,
try
so-
to incorporate it in that way.
While we've been talking, it comes up a lot about the idea that students need to see themselves in these adults and all that. And so, why do you think that is? Why do we have to have role models and have those role models reflect us? I mean, is it just like stir aspiration, or is it just to give us a sense of, or kids especially, a sense of who they can become?
Yes,
For me,
both.
it's definitely both, and really highlighting the sense of who they can become.
Yeah.
They're looking at someone they can identify with and say, like, I could be that person in the future.
It's
because
possible
you know
for
what,
me.
we look the same and we have the same color.
Yeah.
At least for me, in my personal
Well, I was
experience.
going to ask you. So, like, who was one of your role models? And
Luz Navarrete.
Okay.
She was a counselor at the junior college, a mentor.
Uh-huh.
I had so many, so it's very difficult to, But Francisco Vasquez,
Uh-huh.
who is a professor at Sonoma State. Yolanda Martinez, who was a Spanish teacher here at Sonoma High School. So all Latinos.
right.
And
then you
Chicanos.
became an academic. You got
Yes.
your master's, and now you're an educator.
Yeah, I actually was doing my teaching credential when Ms. Leisen was doing her teaching credential. I was doing mine at Shepherd Elementary, which is also a school at the
sister
district.
school in our
Yeah.
district, yeah.
And so from teaching, I went into counseling. And so it's always been within education.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I looked at them and I said, if they did it, I can do it too. And it's true.
Are you able, as a counselor,
Happened.
can you recognize kids that are going down a troubled path, and what do you do when you see that?
I'm there. I can definitely identify. I can definitely support. And I'm there to support them as a counselor, but also, going back to when I was growing up and I had, when I went through that myself, where I was like, okay, maybe I'll drop out of school. Definitely it happened to me in middle school.
Right.
And so I can identify with their struggle in
Yeah.
a sense. So it happens the other way around as well. And I think of like, the resources, who can I connect them with? And we're, again, very fortunate to get a lot of support with the community. So right now we're working with restorative justice, and they come in and do a almost circle program with our students that are, in need of more support.
That's great.
So referrals.
And we've
as
also
well.
recently partnered with CPI
Right.
to provide parenting classes. So
For
students
families.
who are getting amazing counseling services from Maria, but then also parents need support as well. So hopefully we're able to provide some services at home.
They come to our school, they do the parent classes there. So CPI is California Parenting Institute. And then they also go to their home if they need additional support. We also are working with CAP, Community Action Partnership of Sonoma County. And again, they have parent support there as well. We're collaborating with Sarasota Junior College, and we have a lot of volunteers that are coming in and supporting their college students, like freshman college students that come in and talk to their little ones. And so they're closer in age than I am or Miss Leisen. And so there's a lot of that kind of support, in mentoring. And I think Miss Leisen talked about that earlier, like having that mentoring is so important.
Well, it sounds like Roseland Elementary is nirvana on earth. It's very, very cool. Good for the kids, good for the community and everyone. Thank you both for coming, Maria Aviña and Michelle Leisen, Counselor Principal at Roseland Elementary. Please come back, yes, and we'll talk again. And
Sure.
there's many more things to go
Our
over.
pleasure.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you both. I'll shake your hand too. Yeah. Cheers.